fight's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
Okay, guys, we are back after UFC London, and we're also going to do our full card picks for UFC 277. Feel free to skip ahead if you want to get to those predictions, but for now, let's recap London. So what's up, dude?
Doing all right. That card was a little disappointing. Didn't end how we would have liked.
Yeah, for how the last London card went and how this one went, just completely different energy. And obviously, main events of these injuries are fucking bullshit. It's so brutal. So yeah, for the night we went minus 0.55 units, but had a lot of highlights in this group, so it's kind of crappy it ended up that way. To start off, we had Aspinall, 1 unit, knee injury, just like Ortega, just like Rakic, and I think I added up all the units we've lost just off of freak injuries, and it's 5.5 units right now, I think. So
yeah, last week we had
1.5 behind Ortega. Yeah. And then Chris Curtis, I think he's just a little bit small for this division right now. Like the length was the problem. I was kind of annoyed.
He didn't cut off the cage. He just kept on following him.
Well, I didn't like either is that I don't like when he complains about Jack Hermansson running from him, but yet I can tell that he has 2 rounds of cardio left in him to try to finish Hermansson that he didn't put out on him. So, I mean, it's like a way to try to get the crowd behind you and call bullshit, but he did lose that fight. So, next, parlays were absolute aces today. Makaev, Wood, Patty. Makaev tossed that boy around, though he couldn't hold him down. It was actually kind of impressive from Johnson. Wood looked extremely good, but then again, Charles Rosa isn't a striker, so it's not the craziest thing to see Rosa outstruck. Patty did his old teabags. That was fun to see. And then we had Molly on yours. How'd you like her stuff?
Yeah, of course. I knew she was going to win easily.
Yeah, Goldie doesn't have any head movement, so like once one of those stunned her, it was just like 4 in a row. So
yeah, when Molly stopped her takedown in the beginning and was sort of winning the clinch positions, then
you feel better.
After that, yeah, I was more confident.
And then going down, I had Dalby in there with another parlay, and he made me nervous in that first round, the fact that he got taken down. But Claudio Silva's gas tank didn't hold up. I honestly thought Dalby should have finished that fight, because for how tired Silva was in that round, he should have finished him in round 2. And then DeCasey's just all reliable. He was getting a lot of shit from the commentary team for not being entertaining, but like when you have such a clear advantage somewhere, it's not shocking to use that. If anything, that's a matchmaking problem from the UFC to make that. So I don't think Mark really deserves all the blame there.
Yeah, he won us some money. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, he was the biggest steal. I mean, minus 227 or minus 305 we got him at, which he should have been a minus 1,500 to start. And then here comes the bad roll of things. We had Paul Craig by sub. He actually had a heel hook in that, but he didn't
in the first round. After that, I was like,
it isn't gonna happen. And he messed up the whole game plan. And I mean, what I would say about this card is that it's the low fight IQ card. Like Craig just showed us that all he was gonna do was grapple. When, like, believe it or not, when Sean Strickland got KO'd by Alex Pereira, it's good to stand on the feet for like a minute to test the waters and make them feel like they're safe on the feet, and then you shoot. And Craig didn't have any of that. Makwan had first round cardio, kind of as we expected, and he didn't get that sub. He
nearly got it.
Nearly, yeah. And then Jai Herbert looked scared of being knocked out, and he had no output. He had I believe it was like an 8-inch reach advantage and didn't use a single jab or a straight punch, and that was pretty disappointing. But I mean, he still did win. And Jones, like that round 3 moment that you probably going to yell about it here. It's just low fight IQ.
Yeah, he attempts a flying triangle when he's winning the clinch position. But I thought he won round 1, but none of the judges saw it that way. So in the end,
it was really close round 1. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it a 10-10 because it was impossible to score. He kind of knocked down Klein with a right hand at once, but
yeah, the live odds after 2 rounds said it was 1-1.
Yeah,
they were near even.
And then moving down into my giant parlay that died on me, which was so sad. I mean, I got everything, and Patty was the last fight on it for KO or points. I didn't really think he was going to get a submission. I thought Jordan Levitt would show good grappling defense, but he didn't. And Patty got him in that nice on his back and took the triangle. But hey, I'll take him in the parlays. I'll take a win no matter what. But man, that would have been a nice 2 units on the night. And then to finish off, had Aspinall for the main event not going the distance. That ended really fast. Krylov beating Gustafsson. That he made that look pretty easy. And then the rounds in the Jai Herbert fight to not go to 3 in the Patty fight. But Jai Herbert really, again, didn't show any urgency. That one fell apart. But like you said, didn't you say
that was the one I was probably the most surprised about. That not being a finish.
Didn't you say that like in both of their last fights they haven't gone to round however and how long? Haven't gone the distance, so
I haven't gone the distance since 2016 for Kyle Nelson. 2018. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 fights for Herbert.
That's insane. So anyway, but minus 0.55 units. I mean, it could have easily been positive if Aspinall still had a shot, so that was kind of crappy. But
or Patty, KO or points.
I mean, I guess we made some mistakes in the prop section, but yeah. I wouldn't call it a horrible week. The fights were not great, but on to this next week. So, okay, on to 277, and now with our first fight of the night, we have Orion Cosce versus Blood Diamond. In this matchup, we're kind of looking at a wrestler versus striker matchup. Blood Diamond being a kickboxer, and Orion Cosce being, I think, just kind of a wrestler. I don't know if he's got college kind of credentials with that, but who do you like here?
Yeah, I think the clear path to victory is Cosce getting this fight on the ground and maybe finding a submission. We saw Blood Diamond in his last fight. I mean, he couldn't. Jeremiah Wells took him down so easily and got that choke in the first round.
Yeah, Jeremiah Wells really strong. It's kind of like hard to for sure take that like fight away from Blood Diamond because he is like way bigger than him during the fight and all that, but Blood Diamond also showed very little like wrestling defense and opportunities to get in or get up to his feet. And in that fight, Jeremiah Wells didn't even have hooks in, I don't think, for the choke. Also, he trains with Izzy, so he probably thinks he's really hyped up and amazing, so that's another knock on him. But
yeah, that means he sucks.
He's be boring.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is a lot of it's a toss-up fight. It's like, okay, Cosce might have one round of good grappling, and if he doesn't get a ground and pound finish or a submission, it might just be Blood Diamond winning rounds 2 and 3, or it may be Cosce ragdolling him for 3 rounds. It's kind of hard to say. But yeah, we'll take Cosce. What round do you want submission in?
Let's go round 1.
All right, gotcha. We already got set there. Cosce, submission, round 1. Okay, for our next fight, we have Negumereanu, whatever, versus Ihor Poteria. I'm not really excited for this fight. I don't know why this is on the pay-per-view, or it's technically not on the pay-per-view, but it's on the big card. So, I don't know. What do you think about their matchmaking here?
Yeah, I'm not sure here. I'm leaning Nick, but yeah, this fight could really go either way.
Well, there's not a lot to go off of on this fight. I mean, Nick's run in the UFC really hasn't been that good. His last fight with Kennedy in Jekoku was very ugly, very, very weird fight. If Kennedy didn't have a point deduction, it would have been his fight, but I don't know. He just has kind of like a basic wrestling style, and doesn't really do a ton of work on the feet either. There's not much that impresses me about him. And then Ihor on the other side, he's got an inflated ass record. It's just like the Askar Morozov guy. I mean, it's just like, if you looked at the people he's faced, it's like 1-9, 1-7. I don't know how you fight MMA if you're 1-9. It just seems ridiculous. I mean, his grappling defense just seems suspect. And we'll just see him get tested here. I mean, he's the favorite, but I think we're just going to go with more experienced UFC fighter, even though he's not that great. And Nick here, do you think there'll be a finish possibly? Or just, he's not really a finisher, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not leaning towards a finish.
Like, an Ike Villanueva finish is hardly even a finish, so we'll just go decision. I think he's going to out-wrestle him here. And also, control time on the fence might be a factor that plays into this, so we'll take Nick by decision here. Okay, for the next fight, we have Yeon Kim versus Joselyn Edwards. And this one, I think we're just going to stick with who we just won with. We're going to stick with Joselyn Edwards here. And she looked pretty decent in her last fight. She dropped around, but I think she took control of the fight. What do you like about this matchup?
Yeah, Edwards showed some good cardio in her last fight, taking rounds 2 and 3. And yeah, I think I'll lean decision for her as well.
Also, her grappling defense was much improved from her last fight. And in this fight, I don't see it hitting the mat. There might be a chance that Kim goes for it, but also, if you just look at Kim's record, I think she's a little bit better than what her record says. She fought, I think her name, I won't be able to pronounce it right, but it's like Cachoeira, Brazilian girl, kind of looks like a man. In that fight, she was winning the fight pretty clearly, but Cachoeira started throwing elbows and really being really aggressive, and started to take some rounds back away from Kim. That was an interesting fight. I mean, she kept it pretty close for when it was in there. The Cachoeira girl just wanted it more. She got lost to Molly McCann. She's pretty well experienced. Alexa Grasso. Those are some quality fighters. Joselyn Edwards, though, I think she's going to hold that range, and her leg kicks in her last fight, they weren't super effective, but she throws like 50 of them, and to the judges, that looked really good. And I'm just going to say that she's just going to be improving each fight here. So, decision call?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it really going any other way. Okay, for our next fight, we have Michael Morales versus Adam Fugitt. In this one, we're looking at some a new fighter, a debut for Adam here, and we have Michael's next fight here. He's a younger prospect coming up, and he wins a lot of fights by knockout, and most recently just knocked out Trevin Giles. You think he's a pretty credible opponent, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He's a pretty talented striker, so I mean he moves pretty fluent for the weight class that they're in. And
Morales is only 23 years old too, so he's really young.
Yeah, and he's got he's pretty filled out for his frame, for his age. And I like the pressure that he puts on people. He won't let you play to their game plan. He's going in there and he's setting the tone. Adam here coming from LFA. It's a pretty credible place to come from into the division, but I think he's going to struggle with the forward pressure of Morales here, and he'll crumple under a punch. It's just a question of when. You have a round?
Let's go round 1.
Round one KO for Michael Morales. Okay, for our next fight, we have Drakkar Klose versus Rafa Garcia. I kind of see this fight as Drakkar Klose just continuously getting his footing back in the division. He kind of had, I think, a kid on his UFC debut, and now he's got Rafa Garcia. So I'm guessing you like Klose with me here.
Yeah, for sure. I think this will go the distance, though. I think.
Yeah, Garcia's he's a very tough dude. I don't think he gets finished by many people, but also Garcia's coming back down to, I think, 155 in this fight. I think his last fight was at 170 with Jesse Ronson. It says latest weight 155, but I feel like that's not right. I think I just watched that. Yeah, we watched that just a couple months ago. I mean, most of us know Klose pretty well because he's had a pretty good run, but if you're wondering about Garcia, he's got a pretty good grappling game. If I had to describe him, I'd just say he's like a bulldog. He's pretty decent everywhere. He can wrestle, he can choke people out, he can stand with people, but overall, I think Klose is just going to be better at most of those categories. We saw Klose fight live, so that was cool.
Yeah, we did.
But, I mean, Klose is just fight the who's who of the division. He's fought Bobby Green. He's fought Beneil Dariush, even though he doesn't remember it. Christos Giagos isn't really, like, crazy good, but he's at least somewhat a guy. I mean,
and Mark DeCasey back on the Ultimate Fighter.
Right. I like his size and length here. He's just very talented with his striking. It's basic boxing, and I think if he does get a finish here, it'll be really late in the fight. It's going to be a bunch of damage, but man, I just see complete dominance, and we have a heavy bet on Klose, and we'll get to the other fighter that's on the bet later, but yeah, Klose by decision. Anything else for this one?
Nope.
Okay, Dana White, what are you doing? I mean, this may be an okay scrap for the first 2 minutes, but we have Donatello Mays versus Hamdy at Hamdy is, I looked at his resume, he's a former Olympic wrestler. He doesn't look that good. He just throws hooks. Other hand, you have Donatello Mays, who doesn't do anything that well. I can strike a little bit. He's got an okay ground game, but there's nothing too much to it. He's got a giant reach advantage here, but it's kind of questionable if he uses it. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I was going to say that the wrestler can get this one done. I think with experience, everything says he shouldn't. He doesn't have the reach advantage. Doesn't have a height advantage. Again, only 3 fights, a jump to the UFC all of a sudden. But if he can get a takedown and ground and pound, I think that's his way to win here. Otherwise, he's just going to blitz and blow his load on the feet. He's going to get exhausted, and Donatello will take over. But I wouldn't bet on this fight. Maybe just not goes the distance on this one. But yeah, we're going to do...
Yeah, I just watched Hamdy's, one of his fights in Gamebred FC, his 14-second knockout. And he's literally like fighting like a meatball. Like this dude's like 40 years old and has like a huge gut.
Oh no, it's just like, how can this... They need to make like a solo event for a week with the UFC that's like all these debut people who don't face anybody, and it's all these trash fights to get them all done at one, and just to have some banger cards. But unfortunately, the prelims on this event are pretty sad. So we'll do Hamdy by knockout round 1, and he'll probably get exhausted and need some donuts to recover in this corner. But yeah. Okay, for our next fight, we have Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves. This should be an interesting scrap. It's kind of whether you want a first-round explosive fighter or if you want Drew Dober. And I think you want Drew Dober, am I right?
I'm leaning Drew Dober for this one. That is correct.
I think the line's way off. That's something I will say about this fight. And
yeah.
I might bet Alves by submission because he's got great first-round submissions. I mean, he's had like a weird run. He had like this somewhat win streak that got killed by Demir, but his Contender Series, he pulled out a really fast submission on this guy. A loss to Demir really isn't like a loss in my book at this level of MMA. And then most recently submitted Mark DeCasey, but I think I can't remember exactly how that fight played out, but I think DeCasey was winning up until the fast guillotine was pulled. So just kind of how he does it. But Dober, I'm not that high on this guy. Do you want to talk about him for a little bit?
Yeah, he's got a nice chin.
That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's nothing too special. I mean, in the Brad Riddell fight, he cracked him in the first round, and if he had like some submission game, he probably would have won that fight.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with Drew Dober is I feel like he's just like the little bit less, like, worse version of Brad Riddell. And again, I'm not that big on Brad Riddell either. They're both just kind of like shorter guys that can slug. And in Drew Dober's side, he doesn't really get knocked out. He's kind of got that Marvin Vettori chin. I don't know. The Terrence McKinney fight too. Like, he was. I mean, I'm not gonna say it should have been stopped because it shouldn't have been, but he did get knocked down twice in that fight, and Terrence was just unexperienced.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And gassed himself out, and then Dober took over and finished him.
But this is how I just see it as Alvarez wins round 1, or Dober takes rounds 2 and 3 or decision. And I think in this case we're looking at a decision.
Yeah, lean decision, but I mean, not too confident in it.
He'll have the wrestling to possibly just bypass some guillotines and stuff. Like, I know a lot of wrestlers dive into guillotines, but he might beat the legs and get away from it. So, yeah, we'll take Drew Dober by decision. But again, you might see me betting a little bit of cash on Alves. And his line might jump because Dober has a little bit of name value. But, yeah, Dober by decision. Okay, for our next fight, we have Alex Moreno versus Matt Semi the Jedi Semelsberger. I don't know. This is kind of another 50-50 fight. I mean, they just keep on piling out these ones to be very close. And in my book, I think Alex Moreno is just very hittable, and his punches, I think that you can kind of see them coming from a mile away. It's just hooks. And I think Matt Semelsberger can hold range better in a bigger cage. Maybe even implement some wrestling when he can find the takedown. But I think at range with that 1-2 combo he can throw with some good power behind it, he should be able to control the fight. I'm not really big on either of these guys. I really have actually critiqued quite a bit of what Semelsberger has done before. And again, it's a very 50-50 fight, but I think that we're going to actually see a knockout from Matt in this fight. I think he's going to put him down, say in round 2. I think that Moreno, again, just leaves himself out for a lot of punches, and he does a lot of blitz attacks. And I think if Semelsberger just finds his timing, he could place a good one on him. But again, it's me a very 50-50 fight. I think Morono is a pretty tough guy, but he hasn't been fighting very many finishing fighters, guys who just put people down. So yeah, Semelsberger by knockout in round 2. Okay, for this next fight, we have Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith, and in this fight, Magomed is just he's our other leg with Klose that we're gonna put 2.5 units behind those two. I just think that Magomed's got so much more speed, and he's just gonna completely outstrike, and I would think knock out Smith here. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards a decision here. I mean, I don't think he'll put himself into too much danger, Ankalaev, and I think he'll cruise to a decision win.
I don't know. I think Smith is pretty slow. He had to be very careful versus Thiago Santos because Thiago Santos can really throw haymakers. But I think Ankalaev is quite a bit better. He's just going to jab him up and hit him with a 2-piece. And he had a check hook. He had checked hook on Thiago Santos that were just completely throwing him off. And man, I just don't think Anthony Smith has any speed on the feet. He's kind of slow, and I mean, his forte is more the ground, and I think Ankalev's going to be better on the ground than him here too. Ankalev's got like weird. He's got like weird fighting, like scheduling of his fights. He fights like a big fighter, then he fights a small fighter, gets a win, fights a big fighter, and then fights a couple small fighters. Like his last couple, Ryan Spann, who's okay. He's got Jimmy Crute by a leg injury. That was on the Usman Masvidal 2 card. Devin Clark, just a wrestler, not a lot to him. Lost to Rakic, and Glover beat his teeth out. I don't know. I just think that he's going to be way too fast for him and knock him out on the feet here. Would you play any other props for this one?
Probably not if we already have 2.5 units on him.
He's winning. He's the lock of the card. He's already a giant favorite. I don't see how Smith can win this fight. I think Magomed showed he's pretty diverse and well everywhere. So unless he's got Anthony Smith throws up a Paul Craig submission on him, who the fuck knows?
I mean, who knows? He can throw a kick and I guess just snap his leg and fall over.
Yeah, for our luck lately, yeah. All right, Magomed Ankalaev. I'm doing KO round 2 on this one. Okay, for this next fight, we have Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. This is, there's 2 flyweight fights on this that are pretty great, and I think this one's going to be also a banger. Pantoja, pretty all-around great fighter, got good stand-up, great ground game, and I think he's got the cardio to last the rounds. And we're going to take him here, right?
Yes, sir. I like him by submission.
I do too. I mean, Perez got submitted by Davison Figueiredo in his last fight. That was a title fight. Like, that was last year sometime. Let's uncheck.
2020. November 2020. That was his last fight.
I knew someone was going to give Figueiredo problems, but he actually had like moments where he could have been okay in that fight, but he actually worked his way back into a guillotine in that fight. He was in it and he worked. He sat up vertically and he gave the leverage to Figueiredo to submit him, and he got put out. If he wanted to invest something early, he could go with those leg kicks against Pantoja. But I like Pantoja's kicking game on the feet. He's got fast body kicks. I just see him having the forward pressure here and taking out Perez. But I mean, a lot of times these fights can be really scrappy and go all 3 rounds. But I think we're gonna have a pretty decent pace on it. We're gonna see that Pantoja will take him to the ground and submit him here. Round 2, round 1.
Round 2.
Yep. All right. Pantoja submission round 2. I will be straight betting his line, I believe, too. I think he's minus 150 right now.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, in this fight, we have Derrick Lewis versus Sergei Pavlovich. We're taking Pavlovich in this one, and you know why? Why don't you tell him why?
Because it is in Texas.
Derrick Lewis sucks in Texas. He can't win a fight in Texas. He can't win a fight, obviously, in his hometown of Houston, but this one's in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Derrick's on his way out here, too. I know he did knock out Curtis Blades or whatever, and he does have, like, these weird, crazy performances, but he really wasn't knocked out too long ago. That was what? Was that the Izzy card?
Yeah, it was February.
Yeah, Izzy and the Whitaker card.
Yeah, so about 5 months.
And, I mean, he fell down pretty good in that fight, and, I mean, everyone knows what he can do. This is the hard thing about Derrick is, like, he could beat anyone and lose to everyone. He doesn't have, like, great grappling. He's just going to go out there and he's going to throw haymakers, and he's trying not to get tired. I mean, look at the reach advantage here is 6'3", 84-inch reach versus 6'3", 79-inch reach. So Pavlovich has a 5-inch reach advantage that he actually uses. Like, if you watch his fighting style, he'll use jabs and straight punches. Derrick's just throwing bombs these days. That's all he's going for. Do you think Derrick can get knocked out in this one?
I mean, yeah, I'd assume whoever wins will win by knockout.
I think also people don't want to play in Derrick's game. If you play the slow game and go punch for punch with him every once in a while, Derrick can win on a big punch. What Ty did is he took Derrick out of his element and bull rushed him at certain moments, and he couldn't control who had the power in moments, and then he got put down. I mean, Sergei doesn't have almost credible UFC wins. He beat Shamil, the goddamn caveman, but I just see Sergei being better here and putting Derrick down, and who knows how many more fights Derrick's got in him, but if it's in Texas, we can't take him.
Yeah, I mean, but still, Derrick Lewis can still knock out anybody. I mean, yeah, that's the way heavyweights go.
If they're going to be underdog money on someone against him, I'll take it. If he was the underdog, I might have taken him. But I think stylistically, the length and the difference, the variation in strikes, I got to take Pavlovich. So Pavlovich, KO, round 2. Okay, for the co-main event, the people's main event, we have Brandon Moreno versus Kaikar France. It's going to be an absolute war. And who do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth. I think Moreno will win a decision, a close decision at that too. 48-47. I like him taking the last 3 rounds. I think Kaikar France can take the first 2, and then I think Moreno is
his like volume and cardio. I mean, Kaikar France is kind of like a weird fighter because he's lost some like weird fights before, but his last one he looked really impressive. He stopped all the takedowns from Askar Askarov, and he really fought his way to the win. And like, not only did he stop his takedowns, but like, I think he actually had pretty good jiu-jitsu to get out of bad situations where he got almost suplexed and he just kind of hooked the legs of Askar to not get thrown. I mean, we did see that. I think Moreno would have won that last fight had he not made some dumb mistakes against Figueiredo. In that fight with Figueiredo, he got dropped at the end of rounds, which is just the most alarming thing. He lost rounds just from last moment, like getting caught, and it just completely sways the card. And I don't know, he's been putting on better performances, but I think the odds are completely off for this one. It's like minus 200 Moreno, plus 170 France. I mean, it's going to be a scrap. It's going to be very close. It's kind of hard to say how things play out too, because Moreno's fought 3 straight fights against Figueiredo, and Kaikar France has been fighting some diverse competition. But yeah, I think Moreno maybe just barely edges this one out, but it's going to be real tight. And hopefully he uses some of that length and maybe grappling when he can mix it in, but Carl France looks much improved. And yeah. You still there?
Yeah.
Anything else from you?
Moreno is training with James Krause for this camp.
I don't think James Krause is some crazy coach. I always hear this thing. I don't think he's so crazy.
He's good flyweights.
He coaches just a ton of people, so he can be called a good coach. Is partially the thing about him. But he doesn't like coach any champions. It seems like he's in someone's corner every week. What fucking gym does James Krause even have?
Glory MMA.
Okay, I didn't even know. But yeah, I mean, there's a chance I think Kaikar could actually even knock out Moreno here, but his chin is held up, and if he's eating shots from Figueiredo, I think we see a similar power with Carl France. And if Carl France wins this fight, I'm picking him to beat Figueiredo. I don't think Figueiredo's that crazy great. So, but yeah, Moreno decision. Okay, and for the rematch, the main event, I know a lot of people dislike this fight. I mean, you're quick to trash this one too, but I mean, it'll still be entertaining.
No, dude, I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Shut up. I mean, it'll be entertaining no matter what. I think both these girls will put on a show. Obviously, the first one was the parlay destroyer. I think we had a buddy that had like a parlay that paid out like plus 2,000, and she killed it or something. It was hilarious. But we're gonna pick Pena. We're gonna pick Pena here. We're going for the dog. We're going for the stand still. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it. I don't know if Nunes still has that it factor. You know, does she want it? I don't know.
Yeah, she gave up in the last fight, and
yeah.
Here's another thing. Okay, everyone that comes into the fight against Amanda has the fear factor that they're going to get knocked out, and I think that's going to be gone for Pena when they come in this fight, because like every single girl you see Megan Anderson fights Nunes, given Megan Anderson sucks. They're so scared of just getting knocked out that first round they're kind of nervous, and we actually saw that with Pena. She got like controlled and beaten in the first round. But Nunes' fight IQ and her punches in round 2 were so bad. I mean, if you remember all those exchanges, they were kind of brutal for her.
Yeah, she was just swinging.
Well, what kept on happening was them two were like a couple feet away from each other, and Pena would just throw out a basic jab. That's all she was going to do. I'm not going to say her jab was anything crazy because it wasn't. And Amanda would walk into it. She would walk into jabs. And she just got beaten down. And I think Pena's chin's going to hold up here, and I think she's going to take this. And if this fight goes past 2 rounds, I think that Pena's going to have the better cardio here, and maybe even the volume on the stand-up to beat Nunes. And Nunes she talked about retirement like 2 years ago. I don't remember what fight it was. Maybe the Felicia Spencer one? She talked about wanting to retire after one of her fights. I don't know if she's going to have that same mentality. And, you know, everyone kind of like defends these champions until they get dethroned. And we all saw Nunes get dethroned by Pena, and a lot of us were in just disbelief because we saw Amanda gave up and she looked exhausted and all these things. But how do you think Pena gets this one done? Submission?
Show submission again.
Yeah, I mean, the takedown that she got and how fast Nunes gave up position. And there's I'll go round 3. I'll give it another round. There's a thing too that I think Nunes or Pena can do to win this fight is just constant pressure, because that's exactly what Amanda's used to being the hammer, where she can just run out and smack girls, and the second that she was the nail in this fight, she gave up. So, you know, I think we might see her being the hammer for rounds 1 and 2. Round 3 happens, Pena's the hammer then, and boom, down goes Nunes. So yeah, submission round 3. Okay, guys, this is our full card picks and predictions for UFC 277. That bets video probably coming out Wednesday. Depends when those props land. Probably go a little bit lighter on the props this week.
Yeah, props this past week killed us.
It's just picking the dogs that are unreliable after a certain time limit. But yeah, I mean, we'll put the picks on Instagram if you want to get them odds early. And yeah, like and subscribe, and peace.
Peace.